Just a reminder that we can't add to the budget after it's been rejected. So if the next referendum fails, it has to be cut. It gets reduced more. It doesn't have any way to have anything added to it, which means we need to remember that our revenues in the town are set the way we budgeted them. We can't add to those revenues. So you have to keep in mind that we already have an appropriated surplus in our revenue line item. And hopefully, luckily, we haven't had to touch that over the last few years, but we're getting to the point now where serious reductions that are going to affect services in the town, not just the library or the police department, but the town as a whole, are in a precarious position. Who's next?
Good evening, my name is Bruce Farmer, and I've been a resident of this town since 1983. And you probably don't understand the budgeting process, but let me try something here. Take a little bit different tact. I wondered why we are holding another town budget referendum on May 23rd, which I really think is a bit premature. And as we know, that only reduces the town budget by another $150,000 in total. Because it turns out that the Board of Education actually has a substantial surplus, which we think may be the case. And if those figures are known on or about May 21st, shouldn't we be reflecting that surplus back into the town's overall budget? And then look at the overall picture all over again and see where we are?
Did you hear what I just said?
Yes.
Okay, that's the answer.
But what we already had out there as part of the overall budget?
There's not going to be, we aren't going to know what the audited surplus for the Board of Education is anywhere nearly in time to affect 2012-2013's operating budget. Because we can't add to our budget.
The way we find out every year, after the auditors come in, do their audit, and tell us what the audited surplus is.
Probably around the end of the year.
Fiscal year.
Folks, nobody's hiding any surpluses from anybody. It's all in the financials, it's all in the audit. We take all of this information into consideration when we meet hours and hours and hours every winter to put together a proposed budget.
Who's next?
Vince Domino, 161 East Main. On the heels of Mr. Farmer's comment, I believe at the March 5th meeting of the Board of Education, they were informed that the Finance Director, Kevin Kane, who is tracking the fiscal status of the town throughout the year, is projecting at $650,000 surplus or more. And my question is, I spoke with the Chief Financial Officer for the State of Connecticut Department of Education, and he said that those funds, it's mandatory that they be returned to the town, which I think we've had some dispute about that in the past, but I can tell you that straight from the State of Connecticut Chief Financial Officer, those funds must be returned to the town. So in planning the budget for this coming year, and you've got a $15 million town budget, why not plan on the $650,000 surplus coming back to the town, using it towards your expenses, because certainly you'll receive it before the fiscal year is over and before you need it. And why put it on the backs of the taxpayers and raise the mill rate when, in fact, if you use that $650,000 figure, your mill rate won't go up at all. And by the way, I'd like to commend you on the cuts that you did find, in particular the police department did a really good job of evaluating line by line and coming up and finding out. They evaluated their salary differentials as a result of some retirements and some replacements. So that's my question. why not just do it the same way that any business would? You know you've got this revenue coming in, let's say it's in the third quarter, and it's a very small percentage of what your overall budget is. And let's say it comes in a little bit less than that, because you have to set the budget now, of course. But you've got millions in the undesignated fund that if necessary, and right now we don't think it'll be necessary, we can make that allocation from there.
Okay. We don't know what the audited surplus is. I think that's the third time I've said it. We don't know what it is. As we sit here tonight, we're looking at a $14,898,814. We don't deal with the woulda, shouldas, couldas. We deal with what the information is in front of us. There are a lot of moving parts, and we do our best to try to slog through it all and convey that information to the taxpayers. Historically, what the Board of Ed surplus is used for is to defray capital expenses that the Board of Education has. If you look at prior budgets over the last 3 to 5 years, you'll see that the Board of Education's capital expenditures are low. And they're low because with the endorsement of the Board of Finance, they have used operating surplus to defray capital expenses. That way, for example, in this year's proposed budget, instead of having a $1.3 million or $1.4 million capital line item, we have a $534,000 or $562,000 line item. So there is a realized savings on the town budget by letting the Board of Education use their operating surplus to make capital improvements. Now, do we know that revenue is coming in? Projected in my line of business means estimated. Estimated is an educated guess. An educated guess is not the way we budget. It just isn't, no matter what you read, no matter what you hear. So we're not really here to talk about this rumor of a $650,000 budget surplus on the Board of Ed. We're here to talk about the $150,000 proposed cuts from this budget. But I want to caution you that if you think that using that $650,000 or we're doing something nefarious by not taking that into consideration when we put together these numbers, you're mistaken. Who's next?
Thank you very much. My name is Kurt Carr. I live on Osprey Common South. Found the comments this evening very interesting. Some I agree with, some I don't agree with. Usually Phil and I agree on most things. In this case, we don't agree. The problem that we have is in 2009, there were about 500 people that came out and voted no for the budget. And then by 2010, it was 1,800 that came out to vote no. It's clear that the taxpayers in this town have finally said enough's enough. The taxes can't keep going higher. We have the highest tax rate on the shoreline, and that just can't keep going on. So I guess we asked how many people are here for the library, how many people are here because they're concerned about their taxes going up? So, there is a real concern that as the tax rate goes up, our property values are depressed by high taxes. It discourages the growth of business in the town. They go elsewhere if they can. So there is a real issue here that you can't just keep raising taxes to cover never-ending rises in expenses. So my suggestion is that whether this passes or fails or whatever happens, at some point the town take a strategic look at its costs and try to find some ways to consolidate, find ways to find other sources of revenue from other lines. But to keep coming back to the taxpayers, you're getting the message, I think, you've got to get it sooner or later, that we're not going to just keep letting you raise the taxes endlessly. And sooner or later, if we don't come together and unite, it's just going to be very unpleasant. And I think we ought to try to put some of this unpleasantness behind us and work together toward a common cause. I also agree with Peggy Adler that cutting this person's position is very unfortunate. I hope you can find a way around that, whether it's the 600,000, 650,000 that's on the school budget surplus. And by the way, if you think it's not a fact, here is the page from the minutes. Okay. Okay. So, well, he'd like for me to stop talking about the surplus. Anyway, obviously there are a number of people who disagree with you here, and I'm among them. So anyway, with that said, thank you very much for your attention this evening and for coming out. It's really great to see people with civic interest. Thank you.